Welcome back to CWRL's Fight Night at the Freedom Factory. We have our main event tournament all set up. Traffic jam qualifying. The top 4 teams that came out of it were Number 1 Racing, the Rainbow Warriors, Junior Nation, and the Smokehouse. They will be going up against our top 4 in points, which are Boogity Boogity Racing, the Candymen, the Intimidators, and the King's Court. We've got a couple of interesting rematches here from our first ever event, the Battle of Bristol, where the Candymen will be taking on the Rainbow Warriors in a rematch here, along with the Intimidators going up against Junior Nation. So those should be some key matches to watch here in the first round. That being said, let's get into this first round here. Our first round is 4 10-minute heats where these teams go up against each other trying to score as many points as they possibly can. And the team that scores the most points, not necessarily the team that wins the heat, goes on to the next round to face whoever they need to face and then move on to the finals in hopes of winning Fight Night here at the Freedom Factory. I appreciate you all once again for joining us here. And now let's get the first round started. And our first matchup, we have Boogity Boogity Racing taking on Number 1 Racing. Should be good. We got 10 minutes on the clock. We're going to get through the lightning fast randomized qualifying after this all loads. And while this loads and goes through, let's go over the teams that did not make the
drivers
event, and that will
to
go
your
home
cars
with 10 championship points on the evening, and that would be the Miller Timers, the Bushwhackers, Hello Newman, chasing the Elliots, surprisingly, out of this event, the Silver Foxes, and the Legion of Supermen, unfortunately not able to participate in the main event tournament here. That being said, they will all go home with 10 points towards the final championship total, and those points are still important. Anywho, we have the record car for Number 1 Racing on point here for the pole, with the checker car for Boogity Boogity Racing on the outside. And then you got the checker car for Number 1 Racing all the way back in 4th there. Let's see if they can actually move up and score points that they're going to need to advance. That being said, let's get things started for CWRL's Fight Night at the Freedom Factory. See the pace car coming off the speedway, and the clock is on. See the wrecker car holding point early on, but facing some stiff competition from the checkers car for Boogity Boogity Racing. Boogity Boogity Racing is going to lead that lap, that first lap, and start scoring points right off the bat as we get into this Fight Night at the Freedom Factory in this first round. Breaking the wall a little bit, but not stopping their momentum too much. Boogity Boogity Racing holding the point over Number 1 Racing, scoring points with every lap they lead with their checker car out front here. Starts the 4th lap, and we're looking on 9 minutes left on the clock. Boogity Boogity Racing holding the lead here, but the wrecker car working on that back bumper, getting a run. Oh, and he takes out the checker car for Boogity Boogity Racing. They are now dropping all the way back to the rear of the field. They're going to have to play some massive catch-up here, but they were able to score points early. You can see traffic jammers here for Number 1 Racing having fallen behind the pace quickly and early on. Meanwhile, the checker car for Number 1 Racing is back in the 6th position, bit weird here, seeing these checkered cars so far back, unable to score points against one another. Meanwhile, back up front, we have the wrecker cars on point. Number 1 Racing wrecker car leading the way right now, but Boogity Boogity Racing did score points very early on here, so those points are going to matter as number 1 Racing is not able to catch up at this time unless that checkered car is going to start making their way through the field, and it looks like he is, as he is working for the 4th position here. He is going to clear, I assume, that traffic jammer car and start working onto the leaders. You can see the checkers car here for Boogity Boogity Racing still back in the 7th spot, trying to get past his teammates here, while the checker car from number 1 Racing is starting to make a move for the 2nd position on the wrecker car for Boogity Boogity Racing. We are 6 minutes, 50 seconds remaining on the clock here in this first matchup of Fight Night at the Freedom Factory. You've got the checkers car for number 1 Racing on the back bumper here, looking to score these positions and get into the lead and start scoring points for his team. Meanwhile, it looks like we are already starting to lap traffic jammers here. See, that traffic jammer has just been lapped by the leaders, but not by the checkers car for Boogity Boogity Racing, so no points yet have been scored. See the checkers car here working for the lead on his teammate, scoring a precious point here towards the championship and to catch up to Boogity Boogity Racing, who scored 4 or 5 points here in this initial heat. But it looks like the crossover move was just applied, so the wrecker car for Boogity Boogity Racing, or excuse me, number 1 Racing, is back on the point, with the checker car back in 2nd and the wrecker car for Boogity Boogity Racing back in 3rd. Meanwhile, the checkers car is making progress here on these traffic jammers, but he still has a ways to go to catch up to the lead pack here. These lead 3 cars of the wrecker's car, the checkers car, and the wrecker's car respectively. Number 1 Racing has the point right now, but at the same time, they are not getting the points they need to get by leading laps. They have not lapped enough cars yet with the checkers car to be able to score points that would make a difference. But we got another incident here. The checkers car for Boogity Boogity Racing is once again off the pace. Just dropped back into the 8th position, has a long way to go to catch back up to the leaders, who are now basically a straightaway behind him as we speak. This could be huge. If the checkers car for the leader in the next 4 minutes can catch up to the checkers car for Boogity Boogity Racing, that's 15 points. For every lap that car is put down. And as you know, if that car gets held up, wrecked, or stuck in the pit, those are a lot of laps that can be put down. Because Boogity Boogity Racing took advantage of that type of incident in our last event. And at the same time, so did the Candymen when Boogity Boogity Racing had their own bad luck. Hundreds of points were scored in those heat races. We got 3 minutes, 20 seconds remaining on the clock as the record car for Boogity Boogity Racing still shows the way. We got the checkers car still in second, but a distant second, trying to catch up here, trying to put his teammate a lap down. In third place, you got the record car for Boogity Boogity Racing, and all the way back in sixth place, you got the checker car for Boogity Boogity Racing, still trying to catch up after a couple of mishaps has befallen him so far. But on the plus side, those traffic jammers are sure staying ahead of number one racing, which is working out well for them. If they are able to hold off the leaders, they'll prevent them from scoring points, and that could actually lead to Boogity Boogity Racing advancing to the next round just because of the laps they led. That checker, oh, the wrecker car for Boogity Boogity Racing has wrecked and been turned around. Meanwhile, you got the new leader, the checkers car here, pulling away from the field, putting another car, and another car has been put a lap down. That one was from Boogity Boogity Racing, so I don't know which car that was, but number one Racing has just scored massive points here in a matter of moments. Let's see. Oh my goodness, it was the checkers car. The checkers car is a lap down here with 1 minute and 15 left in this heat race. Number one Racing coming out of nowhere to start scoring massive points for leading laps, putting the checkers car a lap down from Boogity Boogity Racing, putting down traffic jammers here as he works on one right now, coming into turn 3 and 4. And also, if he can hold on to this lead, 25 precious victory points for winning the heat race as the checkers car. They will instantly jump into the next round with the position they're holding right now. We got 30 seconds remaining in this heat race. Number one Racing pulling it out of their rear end, out of nowhere, when Boogity Boogity Racing looked like they had this locked up. Even though it wasn't a runaway lead, it looked like nobody was scoring points. The field had spread out way too much. Cars were not getting lapped, and now you have number one Racing ripping through the field, lapping the traffic jammers here. Looks like he's about to put this final one a lap down as time expires, and we are going into the white flag. Let's move into HC view here as number one Racing crosses the line for that white flag lap. You can see it looks like that wreckers car in second still here. As we wrap it up and conclude the first heat of Fight Night at the Freedom Factory here, number one Racing looks like they will be pulling out with the victory over Boogity Boogity Racing, and the points leaders will be sent home with very little points on the day, giving all the other teams a good chance, pardon me folks, a good chance to catch up in the points. It'll take us just a moment to start tabulating and calculating these points here. Of course, we will go through and see Boogity Boogity Racing's performance real quickly. Let us go back in time. Oh, and there's the moment where number one racing took it away from Boogity Boogity Racing. When the wrecker's car for number one racing took out the checker car here, preventing them from scoring any more points and ultimately giving the win to number one racing in this heat race. So, with 4 points being scored for leading laps, the checker car finishing dead last in this heat race, it is safe to say that 14 points on the day is what Boogity Boogity Racing is going to go home with after we add 10 points for them being eliminated in the first round. They're 10 pity points. The points leaders not having a good day here today, as number one racing will move into the next round. But first, let us see how many points number one racing is getting away with here today in this heat. So we were working on lap 43. At the end of 43 was the final lap here. So it was 40. So that would have been 1, 2. So 9 points. And they came back from 8th spot. They were all the way back there for a moment. Caught up in some calamity of their own, but they were able to run down the leaders and finish it up here. So you got 9 points for leading laps. You got 9 points for lapping all of the traffic jammers, so that's 18. You got 15 points for lapping their opponent's checker car for 33 points. And to cap it off, 25 more for 58 points in the first heat race of round 1 of Fight Night at the Freedom Factory. So, congratulations to number one racing on advancing to the next round with 58 points on the day. Coming up next, we have the Candymen in a rematch from the Battle of Bristol taking on the Rainbow Warriors. Stay with us as we get all of this set up. This is CWRL.